Imagine a world where a 12-year-old kid was the most essential person in your neighborhood. He didn't just deliver news. He ran a full-scale business before he could even shave. He wasn't anyone's employee. He was a CEO on a bicycle. Today, that kid is a ghost. The canvas bags are gone. The heavy schwinns are rusted. And a multi-billion-dollar childhood industry has vanished into thin air. But how did we go from a time when teenagers like Warren Buffett earned more than their teachers to a world where this job is a relic of the past? This isn't just about a lost job. It's about a rite of passage that shaped generations. Why did the Paperboy disappear? And what did we lose when he did? Let's dive into the mystery. Let's get one thing straight. These kids weren't employees. They were independent contractors. At just 12 years old, Paperboys were running real businesses. Here's the crazy part. They had to buy the newspapers first. Every week, they paid a wholesale bill. And their profit? The difference between what they paid and what they collected. If a customer didn't pay, that loss came straight out of their pocket. This was a high-stakes game of debt and inventory. In 1958, a typical route could earn a seventh grader around $55 a month. That was serious money. Some, like a young Warren Buffett, even out-earned their teachers. This wasn't a hobby. It was a crash course in capitalism. Imagine the 330 rumble of a delivery truck. That was your starting gun. You didn't just grab the papers. You had to prep them. Every copy folded tight, snapped with a rubber band, until your fingers turned black with ink. Then came the load. Those canvas saddlebags weren't for show. They carried up to 40 pounds of newsprint, enough to crush a regular bike. You jumped curbs, pushed through heat, or dragged yourself through knee-deep snow. And if you were sick, there was no calling in. You either found a substitute or you went out anyway. It was a race against the clock. You had until 5 o'clock to hit over 100 porches before dinner time. This was the grind that built real grit. If you thought weekdays were tough, Sunday was a different animal. While the world slept, your alarm hit at 5 a.m. This wasn't just delivery. It was an assembly line. You sat on cold ground, hand-stuffing sections and thick coupon stacks until each paper was complete. These editions were massive, 3 times heavier than normal. Your canvas bag felt like lead, too heavy to carry it all at once. So you split the route. Deliver half, pedal back, reload, and do it again. All before 7 a.m. Rain, snow, or brutal heat, the Sunday paper waited for no one. It was a test of pure grit before breakfast. Collection day was the real test. Once a month, you grabbed your collection book and knocked on every door. This was where the Paperboy became a debt collector. If they paid, you tore off a receipt. If they didn't, you came back tomorrow, and the day after that. Some people dodged you on purpose, others moved without a word. And you still had to pay for those papers. That's how you learned what bad debt felt like. At 13. But there was a silver lining: tips. Customers who appreciated you slipping the paper inside the door would round up the change. And you learned something fast. Good service paid you more. Bad service cost you money. But Paperboys were more than delivery kids. They were the eyes and ears of the neighborhood. They knew which houses had dogs, who was on vacation, and which elderly neighbors needed their paper placed just right. That connection led to real heroism. In 1979, Joseph Latina saved a man's life after noticing papers piling up. In 1969, Wesley Boussard pulled a 72-year-old man from a burning apartment. They were so trusted during World War II, these kids helped sell over $1 billion in war-saving stamps. From commemorative stamps to a Hall of Fame with names like Walt Disney and Martin Luther King Jr., they weren't just delivering news. They were part of the community. Everything seemed perfect until the early 1960s. That's when the afternoon paper, the Paperboy's bread and butter, started to die. The reason? Television. In 1963, major networks expanded the evening news from 15 to 30 minutes, and just like that, they stole the audience. People no longer waited for the 5 p.m. delivery. Back then, there were far more afternoon papers than morning ones, and those routes were perfect. After school, done before dinner. But everything shifted. Morning delivery meant waking up before 6 a.m. Most kids couldn't do it, and parents wouldn't allow it. By 2000, morning papers outnumbered afternoon ones, and slowly, the kid on the bicycle began to disappear. But the fall of the Paperboy wasn't just about economics. It was about something deeper, a sudden loss of trust. On September 5th, 1982, everything changed. 12-year-old Johnny Gosch vanished while delivering papers in West Des Moines. His red wagon was found just blocks from home, still full of newspapers. 2 years later, another boy, Eugene Martin, disappeared the same way. They became some of the first milk carton kids, and just like that, everything felt different. That early morning route, once a symbol of independence, now felt dangerous. Maybe the streets hadn't changed, but the fear had. And for parents, the risk finally outweighed the reward. By the late 90s, the math stopped working for a kid on a bike. Routes grew larger, too big to handle without a car. The industry changed. Paperboys became independent delivery contractors, and most of them, adults in minivans. Then came the internet. The morning paper became a digital relic. That personal connection? Gone. Today, you probably don't even know who drops that paper at the end of your driveway. But for those who carried the bag, the lessons never left. Grit, responsibility, hustle. It was a rite of passage. The Paperboy is a ghost now, but the people who lived it will never forget the snap of a rubber band.